Good evening. Tonight, we're dissecting a conflict that's moving faster than the markets can keep up with. President Donald Trump is calling the war with Iran a short-term excursion, suggesting the mission is very complete, pretty much. But as we look at the smoke billowing over the Strait of Hormuz, the question isn't just about military strikes, it's about the endgame. Is this a surgical victory, or is the administration setting the stage for a premature mission accomplished moment? Trump's rhetoric today was a classic study in cognitive dissonance. On one hand, he's telling the American public that the Iranian Navy and Air Force are effectively gone. On the other, he's doubling down, stating that the U.S. hasn't won enough yet and won't stop until total defeat. This indicates a strategy of strategic ambiguity. By claiming victory is near, he's attempting to stabilize global markets, but by demanding ultimate victory, he's keeping the door open for regime change. Let's talk about the oil roller coaster. Earlier today, crude oil prices hit a 6-year high, surging past $100 a barrel. The global economy held its breath as the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most vital energy artery, effectively saw a de facto shutdown. But look at the market reaction to Trump's short-term comments. Prices pulled back sharply to $85. This tells us that the markets are currently trading on sentiment rather than supply. Even though physical trade in the Gulf has stalled, as seen in the stagnant satellite data of tankers, the promise of a quick end to the war is the only thing preventing a global inflationary meltdown. However, the domestic impact is unavoidable. From the UK to the US, we're seeing pump shock. In some regions, heating oil prices doubled in a single week. The analysis here is clear. Even a quick war has long-term inflationary consequences that could haunt the administration's approval ratings back home. On the ground in Tehran, the narrative is vastly different. The assassination of the previous supreme leader hasn't led to the immediate collapse the West might have hoped for. Instead, we see the rise of Mojtaba Khamenei. This is a critical pivot point. Mojtaba isn't just a successor, he's the architect of the regime's inner workings for the last 30 years. The continuity he represents, fueled by personal loss and nationalistic defiance, suggests that Iran is doubling down. History shows that aerial bombardments often harden a population's resolve rather than breaking it. While Trump sees a defeated military, the Iranian regime sees a holy resistance that they can win simply by surviving. We have to address the tragedy in Minab. The strike on a primary school that killed 168 people has become a flashpoint for misinformation. President Trump attributed the disaster to inaccurate Iranian munitions. However, forensic video analysis by BBC Verify suggests otherwise. Multiple experts have identified the projectile as a U.S. Tomahawk cruise missile. This creates a massive credibility gap. In the digital age, plausible deniability is harder to maintain. If the U.S. is seen as responsible for high-casualty civilian incidents, it loses the moral high ground necessary to keep its allies, like the G7 and NATO, fully aligned with the excursion narrative. So, what is the USA accent on this situation? It's a gamble. Trump is trying to brand this war as a success before it can turn into another forever war. He's looking for the exit ramp, signaling to voters that he can project power without the decade-long baggage of previous Middle East involvements. If the U.S. can declare victory and withdraw before oil prices permanently cripple the global economy, it's a political win. But if the Iranian resistance holds and the humanitarian cost continues to mount, this short-term excursion could become a long-term liability. As Jeremy Bowen noted, wars don't necessarily end just because one party wants them to. Reporting from the intersection of geopolitics and global finance,